everyone, and I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. My name is Professor Noki, and you're here once again for the news with Noki. Today, I figured I'd do something a little bit different from usual, and instead of go over all the different things that interested me from this past week, I would instead break down this past week's Pokémon Direct. There was so much information to digest from this Direct that I thought it would be a great idea to go step by step, scene by scene, and break down absolutely everything that we know so far. And I've got to say, if you haven't checked out the Direct yet, I would highly implore you to do so. In fact, I actually have a reaction video up on my channel that you can check out to watch my live reaction to all of this crazy information. So, for starters, this Direct actually kicked off with an announcement that very few people saw coming, which was the remake of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team. Now, for those of you who haven't played, way back in 2006, there was a brand new game that came out called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team. In this game, you actually got to play as a Pokemon and go on a number of dungeon crawling adventures to solve the ultimate mystery of how you actually became a Pokemon. This game that's actually going to be coming out next month on March 6th will be a remake of these original games in a brand new, beautiful looking hand-drawn art style, including much more Pokemon than ever before, and actually Mega Evolutions. And although they didn't explicitly show off whether there would be Generation 8 Pokemon in this game, I would guess that they probably will throw in some form of reference to Generation 8, as it's actually coming out in this generation overall. And if you're interested in checking this game out ahead of time, you can actually download a demo version right now on the Nintendo eShop. And any of the progress that you make on the game will transfer into the full version of the game once it's released next month. Now, I have yet to download this demo version yet because I really honestly haven't had time, but I fully intend to do so and add this to my repertoire of games that I will be streaming live for you guys. I played a number of the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, and I am extremely excited to check out this brand new reiteration of the originals. And then on to the bulk of what this Pokemon Direct was actually about, which was an even bigger announcement that absolutely nobody saw coming. That being the very first ever Pokemon DLC called the Pokemon Sword and Shield Expansion Pass. This is being introduced as a much more efficient way to bring brand new content into the Pokemon Sword and Shield games. Unlike in previous generations, where they would actually create a third installment of their core games, whether that be Diamond, Pearl, and then Platinum, Ruby, Sapphire, and then Emerald, in this generation, they're going to go an entirely new approach and actually add DLC as time goes on that will include brand new areas, returning Pokemon, brand new people, items, and even mechanics into our actual Pokemon Sword and Shield games. And not only that, but you will no longer have to actually restart your journey all over again for this brand new content. And instead, you're going to be able to progress right where you left off in Pokemon Sword and Shield. This expansion pass is only going to be $30 total, and will include both Part 1 and Part 2 of the DLC. However, it's my speculation, and I'll go into this a little bit further in the video, that there could be even more DLC coming in the future. And unlike previous generations with their third installments, this brand new DLC will include so much more, entirely new storylines and regions to explore. First up, we got the intro to the brand new DLC, starting with some very quick flashes of a lot of information that is to come throughout this Direct in general. In fact, this very first image actually shows part of Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno, the brand new Dojo and Exploration outfits, and some very blurry images of our brand new rivals Clara and Avery. And then the second scene actually shows us a series of runes, the first of which belongs to Regice, with a close-up in the picture below it. To the left, Masuda can be seen pointing to another rune which very obviously belongs to Registeel. Then below that, we can actually see two brand new Regi forms, which I'm gonna call Regishock and Regidrake, even though those aren't exactly their official names. And it can be assumed from this very strange looking split rune that this is actually the shared location of these two brand new forms, maybe depending on which version of the game you have. And then in this third quick scene, we can actually see an image of Talonflame, one of my absolute favorite bird type Pokemon from any region, as well as the brand new concepts for the bicycles. Then they move on to the first part of the DLC, the Isle of Armor. And very interestingly enough, when they zoom and pan into the Isle of Armor, they actually do so off the right-hand coast of the Galar region. And somehow the train in Wedgehurst actually links to this island, whether that be somehow under an underground tunnel or something like that, we're not exactly sure yet. Though in the brand new update that you can get for your game, Clara or Avery sit in the Wedgehurst station and talk about boarding the train to get back to the Isle of Armor. And this island is a beautiful land full of very diverse scenery, from sandy beaches to craggy rocks to even dense forests. They then show us a very quick scene that's basically like a highlight reel of everything that they're going to reveal to us. We see the Galarian starters, their final evolutions, and hints to their brand new Gigantamax forms, the brand new rivals Clara and Avery, as well as Gigantamax forms for Venusaur and Blastoise, the new dojo outfits, Galarian Slowpoke and Galarian Slowbro, as well as our brand new mentor and the dojo by which we'll be completing our training. After that, we actually get to see Galarian Slowpoke a little bit more up close and personal, as well as a direct tease to Galarian Slowbro, which doesn't appear to have any form of symbiotic relationship with another Pokemon, unlike its original counterpart. In fact, if I were to go based on its coloration alone, I would probably assume that Galarian Slowbro somehow ends up taking on a poison typing along with its base psychic type. We next get a direct shot of this brand new logo that symbolizes the dojo where we'll be training at. In fact, this symbol can actually be found in the mouth of the legendary Pokemon fixated atop the dojo and the battle tower on this island. Next, we get some great shots of both outside and inside the dojo, where it would appear there are various rooms for training and battling, as well as one room that very well could end up being our actual quarters where we will sleep and take care of our Pokemon at. The next few scenes actually go over all of the brand new awesome looking dojo attire, as well as the new haircuts, hair colors, and all of the other various clothing accessories that they're adding into the games, including some really amazing looking hats. They also showed off the brand new, really sweet looking off-road bike styles that you'll actually be able to upgrade to, as well as the new getup that you can change into, including a really protective looking helmet. We then get to see a much more detailed look at both of the brand new rivals that they're putting into these games, which are actually version exclusive. First, we have Clara in Pokemon Sword, who is a poison type Pokemon trainer. And actually, she has a very unique looking design, as in her hair she wears a bow that a lot of people, including myself, have begun to speculate could be a hint towards a Galarian Dustox. And as such, this would probably imply there could be a Galarian Wurmple, and maybe even a Galarian Beautifly to come as well. Then for Avery in Pokemon Shield, who is a Psychic type trainer and wears a very eccentric looking style, and actually for a very brief moment of time can be pictured alongside Galarian Slowbro. In the background of the next shot, we actually get to see the same exact collage they showed us at the beginning, only this time in the foreground we see a laptop setup with some very exciting information presented. It is here that we actually got our first tease to the fact that there are going to be a ton of returning Pokemon making their way back into Pokemon Sword and Shield that were previously unable to be captured here. They showed off Volcarona, Kingdra, Dedenne, and midday form Lycanroc, which all of which actually hint to their previous evolutionary lines, especially with Lycanroc, who has Rockruff, Dusk form Lycanroc, Midday form Lycanroc, and Midnight form Lycanroc. And it's not explained in this clip, however, 100 returning Pokemon will be included in this first part of the DLC. Then once again we get the reassurance that our other favorite Kanto starters will be returning to the games, including their brand new Gigantamax forms. And I absolutely cannot reiterate enough how much I love the Bulbasaur evolutionary line, though I've always felt like it's gotten the short end of the stick when it comes to gimmicks. However, I feel like with this brand new Gigantamax form, they've finally given this Pokemon the justice it deserves. And I absolutely love the fact that Gigantamax Blastoise resembles that of a fortress and looks like it'll be really fun to use in battle. It hasn't been explicitly revealed as of yet how exactly you're gonna come across these Pokemon, whether they're going to be specially given to you by a trainer or person in the game, or whether they're going to be part of the max raid battles that will be on this island. The next scene that plays out is actually a build-up to the Galarian starters from this region, eventually leading to the fact that they themselves will be given Gigantamax forms as well. Gigantamax Rillaboom, which will have an entire tree-based drum set to thrash out on. Gigantamax Cinderace, which sits atop a blazing inferno the size of a miniature sun, with these elongated ears that most likely fan the flames for it to be able to travel at lightning speed. And Gigantamax Inteleon, who is now perched atop its pillar of a tail, sniping its opponents from afar with precise accuracy. We then get to see a montage of different gameplay from this area, including running up to the dojo, riding a bicycle on the water through a cave, and a very beautiful scene of exiting a cave and seeing the extensive landscape surrounding you. We also get to see a very brief shot of the battle tower that's on the island, as well as the fact that there will indeed be max raid battles. After they play the Isle of Armor's logo splash, they transition very seamlessly to the second part of this DLC, the Crown Tundra. Traveling through a hazy snow back to the Galar map, they actually pan the camera to the bottom left of the overall region, which in my opinion and my speculation probably actually gives some real utilization to the train tracks that have always been pictured running vertically along the western shores of the region. This new landscape is vastly different from that of the Isle of Armor and includes a number of different biomes to explore. Everything from snow-covered mountains with extremely unforgiving weather conditions to peaceful meadows with gentle babbling brooks. And then, much like the Isle of Armor, the next scene is a bit of a highlight of everything that they're going to show off of this brand new area. In the top left corner, we get to see another shot of a different ruin, presumably the Regirock rune we didn't see on the previous one, as well as another shot of this split rune for Regishock and Regidrake. At the top of the screen, we get a bit of a closer look at the cathedral that sits perched on the peak of the mountain range in this area. And next to that is our very first look at the brand new Galarian forms for the legendary bird trio, this time being Galarian Articuno. And then to the right of that are some more very interesting looking trees, and below is our very first look at Galarian Slowking. It's revealed later in the Direct that Galarian Slowpoke can only evolve into Galarian Slowbro with the help of an item from the Isle of Armor, and into Galarian Slowking with the help of an item from the Crown Tundra. And also scattered throughout this entire image are a number of different clothing accessories that are going to be available as part of this DLC as well. Then the next few scenes actually give us a really close up and personal look at the inside of this cathedral, including a very interesting image of what appears to be somebody sitting down, and a couple of scenes where they actually have various items circled that might give us reference to the overall mission of what we'll be doing in this area to begin with. And it's my speculation that the gentleman they show off, who doesn't have a name yet, who charges you with the responsibility of leading the research and exploration team, is actually hiring you in a sense to go out, seek and find these rare and particular artifacts that are hidden in the different runes throughout the Crown Tundra. After that, we get a lot closer look at the brand new Galarian Regiforms, as well as Galarian Slowpoke and Slowking. And in this image, we can actually see that although its head is scratched out, it appears there's something new that is actually symbiotically attached to its head. Now, a lot of people online have been speculating that this could be a Mareanie, though the more and more I continue to look at it, I feel like this is probably a ghost-type Pokemon that's actually attached itself to Slowking, and then Slowking itself will be some form of psychic and ghost-type Pokemon. Then, as more of the clothing options from this area are shown on screen, we get a very brief glimpse of an interesting icon that somewhat resembles a Pokejobs icon and maybe has something to do with our overall mission in the Crown Tundra. But returning again to the differing clothing options, they actually showed us a number of accessories that are from previous villainous teams like Team Flare and Ghetsis. Once more, we are shown the highlight screen with another computer sitting in front of it, showing us even more returning Pokemon. This time showing off the return of Aurorus, Nidorino, and of course subsequently the Nidorina line, Celio, and the fan favorite Garchomp. After briefly recapping all of the information that they've presented to us thus far, they move on to one of the most exciting and unexpected parts of this entire Direct, which is the reveal of the Galarian legendary bird trio, all of which have their designs receive an entirely new makeover, including mostly a dark theme that gets added to them. Moltres takes on more of a pinkish color with its accents in black, Articuno a more pale blue color with a lot of accents in black, and then Zapdos with a lot darker yellow and of course accents in black. And a very interesting point to note is that all of these colors actually very closely resemble that of its original shiny form. We then see all three of these brand new forms of the legendary birds circling around a very interesting image of one of these gigantic brand new trees, which of course gives us even more to speculate upon in the coming months until this DLC's release. The last few scenes of the Crown Tundra part of the trailer show off again gameplay within this area, starting with the actual train station that you probably arrive in, and then moving on to running through different areas of the game, including a birch forest, and approaching the ruins that most likely belong to the brand new Regiforms. We then get to see the logo splash of the Crown Tundra fading into a cinematic trailer where they show off the brand new legendary Pokemon from both of these areas. First up, they show off Urshifu, which is the brand new legendary from the Isle of Armor, a Pokemon that actually can possess one of two forms, being Single Strike style or Rapid Strike style. Its Single Strike style is a fighting and dark type, and its Rapid Strike style is fighting and water. And this Pokemon actually evolves from a first stage called Kubfu, and only can do so based on the actions and decisions you make while training with it in-game. On top of that, Urshifu actually obtains a Gigantamax form and includes very special G-Max moves for each of its different forms as well. Next, they presented Calyrex, the elk rabbit looking Pokemon that actually has Triforces along its neck and in its eyes, which in my opinion, along with its overall design kind of resembling that of an Octo in Zelda, I feel like is a very direct reference to that gaming franchise that Nintendo also owns. Then, for the second half of this direct, the developers sit down and actually take the time to go over and explain many of the various aspects that they showed off in the first part. Though, there definitely were a lot of things that they didn't talk about at all, leaving purposefully, I believe, a mystery until their release. Which, for the Isle of Armor, will be June of 2020, and for the Crown Tundra will be November of 2020. Then, before the director Tawny actually comes out and gives a further explanation, they revamped the original image of both the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra to include brand new details. In the picture of the Isle of Armor, we now have a series of Galarian Slowpoke all swimming around in the central oasis of the island, which actually pairs with my original theory that maybe since the Galarian people love to eat Slowpoke tails in their curry and almost extinguished the entire population of Galarian Slowpoke, they probably moved them over to this island as a sanctuary to prevent them from extinction. And as for the image of the Crown Tundra, we can now see the inclusion of the legendary bird trio, with both Moltres and Articuno flying high in the sky, and Zapdos perched patiently along the cliffs of the mountains. Then Director Tawny appears on screen to explain to us that the entire theme of the Isle of Armor is centered around growth, and that you'll actually be taking an apprenticeship with Mustard, who also trained Leon how to become his very best. Not to mention, Mustard himself once actually held the seat of champion of the Galar region. And then, aside from explaining various details about the rivals that I've already covered, Tawny goes on to explain that these two trainers are actually striving to also be gym leaders in the Galar region. He next highlights Kubfu, who is actually an integral role in the storyline of this first part of the DLC. A fighting type Pokemon who originated in the Galar region, but then left to migrate to another region that's actually unknown to us thus far. It's hinted to the fact that he will probably give you this Pokemon right at the beginning of your journey of the Isle of Armor, and that you'll train with it the entire time you're on the island. In fact, it's actually explained that you will not be able to evolve your Kubfu into an Urshifu until all of your training has been completed. And it was clarified that you'll actually be able to use Urshifu in official online battle competitions, which is pretty unheard of when it comes to legendary Pokemon. He then briefly touches upon the brand new Gigantamax forms for the Galarian starters, indicating the fact that it's probably going to be only your original starter Pokemon that you're able to Gigantamax on this island. Though no further confirmation has exactly been made as to whether this is going to be the case or not. And then another great reveal from this part of the Direct is that there will be returning tutor moves, apricorn balls, and a brand new mechanic called the Experience Charm. And I've got to say, I could probably not be more excited about the fact that we're going to be seeing the return of apricorn balls. And although there's a lot of speculation going around, I think it'd be really cool if Kurt's granddaughter was the one that you actually went to in order to make these balls to begin with. He then wrapped up the Isle of Armor by showing off even more clothing options that are going to be available to us, including being able to dress up like characters like Marnie and even Chairman Rose. Moving along to the Crown Tundra, he explained that this entire area is based around exploration, starting out by explaining that the people of this area live in very close-knit and small communities that actually rely upon one another to survive this harsh wintry landscape. And as just a speculation of mine, they showed off a very interesting looking house in which the player character was entering, which to me might actually hint to the fact that we might be given our very own residence, maybe one that we could customize, and which we'll return to in order to stay at and take care of our Pokemon. Much like how I speculate that in the Isle of Armor, we're going to be given a specific room that we're going to be able to do the same in. After discussing that even more returning Pokemon, 100 to be exact, will also be included in this part of the DLC, they divulge that we will now actually be able to enter inside Pokemon dens and take on very special, rare, legendary max raid battles that includes the legendaries from all previous games. And these will be available in co-op as well, much like the current max raid battles are already. Then, to wrap up the list of all the amazing things that they're including in this DLC, they revealed that after you actually complete all of the main storyline of them, there will be even more things to unlock and do, including brand new battles and styles. And then they alluded to something that is absolutely huge, which is that these two brand new areas are only key examples of all of the ways that they're looking to add brand new experiences in the Pokemon Sword and Shield games. Meaning, in my opinion at least, that it is almost certain that there will be even more DLCs to come beyond just Part 1 and Part 2. And then, in his closing, Director Tawny actually teased the fact that these two brand new areas will actually include much more to see and do than the original wild area itself. Then the entire Direct closes out with both Masuda and Amori confirming the fact that 200 returning Pokemon will be making their way back to the Galar region that were previously unable to be captured here. And not only that, but you don't even have to purchase these expansion passes in order to have access to these Pokemon, as a free update will go live in June and November that will allow you to transfer these Pokemon from your Pokemon home or trade them with people who actually have the DLC. And speaking of Pokemon home, they actually gave us a bit more of a tentative time frame, being next month that it will be released, stating that there will be some more details to come. And in my personal opinion at least, I feel like this means they have a couple of surprises up their sleeves when it comes to Pokemon Home, as we already know that it's going to be a trading platform and storage facility for your Pokemon, so what else really is there to reveal about it? And the entire Direct concludes with them announcing yet another Gigantamax raid event where you are now capable of catching Gigantamax Colossal, Lapras, and Flapple or Appleton based on your game a lot more frequently than you were previous. And right now there's a brand new update that's live for these games that will actually allow you to go into Wedgehurst Station and meet your upcoming rival from the expansions. And not only that, but also a Galarian Slowpoke will wander off the train and allow you the chance to catch it, giving you your very first Galarian Slowpoke in these games. Though you won't actually be able to evolve this Slowpoke until at the very earliest June when the Isle of Armor is released. I thoroughly hope you enjoyed this breakdown of this past week's Pokemon Direct. As you can see, there was so much brand new information that they showed us of all of the amazing things that they're going to be including in these games going forward. Please let me know in the comments down below what areas of this DLC you are most excited about. And make sure you drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, this has been Professor Noki signing out once again for Noki Talks.